sunny today, as there's a lot of clouds, I guess, blocking the view and all that. And what's going on today? I guess this was kind of interesting with the war and stuff still going around in Ukraine. People are using drones, I guess, to help them for tactical purposes, whether it's to monitor the situation with cameras or literally military ones. How about this one though? It's kind of interesting for perspective because during these times, I guess things like information is a big deal. Who do you trust? Who's telling the truth? This one says, how drones are helping fuel propaganda in Ukraine. Long used for scouting battlegrounds, unmanned flying machines and their footage can also shape public perception. And they use some examples. It says, on March 4th, 8 days into its invasion of Ukraine, the Russian Ministry of Defense tweeted a video purporting to show a Russian-made Orion drone conducting an airstrike against enemies inside the Donetsk region. Then there's drone use by the other side, a Turkish-built drone that has become a sort of mechanical folk hero. In October 2021, Ukraine's military used Bayraktar drones to attack separatists in the Donetsk region. I guess it's like there depending on whose side you're on because of the ability to capture videos and photos and stuff like that. It'll give you the perception of who's winning, I guess you could say. And it says, this is an information war. It's an information environment. What you see posted on Twitter and TikTok is not the whole battlefield picture. It's just a small part of it. Bennett said, popular perception of the war is shaped by the videos people outside of combat can watch. That means that drones are a useful tool for controlling the perception of performance in war. During these times, just speaking personally, I don't know how you can just read one source and just jump to a conclusion saying, that's what's happening. And with that in mind, I thought this was kind of interesting just in terms of things like information. As a lot of people know, here in Canada, recently there was this Emergencies Act that was invoked because they were saying these protesters, for example, like a freedom convoy, they were very violent, they wanted to take over the government. And one accusation I remember reading in the news was they were saying they had armed weapons, I guess. And people are wondering, well, where are these armed weapons, I guess, in the Ottawa protests at least. And it seems here, I guess there was some kind of conference where they were questioning the interim police officer about this, and the answers he was giving, it just seems so political. It's like one of those videos that you see where every time you ask a politician a question, it's thank you for the question type of thing, and they don't even answer it. They just kind of get into other stuff. It's kind of weird. But you can see here, he kind of admitted there was no, I guess, armed weapon or loaded weapon. I think that's believed. That's the term that they're using here.
In Ottawa, during the protest clearing operation, were any loaded shotguns found in the trucks of protesters?
Mr. Chair, what I can indicate is throughout the protest, we did receive information and intelligence around weapons and the possession of weapons by people that either had attended or intended on attending the occupation. As a result of the clearing, at no point did we lay any firearms related charges, yet there are investigations that continue in relation to weapons possessions at the occupation.
I guess yes or no, Interim Chief, were loaded firearms found in the trucks during the protest clearing operation? Yes or no?
So as I indicated, Mr. Chair, there has been no charges laid to date in relation to weapons at the occupation site.
It's just a clear question, Interim Chief. Like, were weapons found? Like, were loaded firearms found? Yes or no?
So in relation to no, not
Okay.
to relating to any charges to this point.
Thank you, Chief. That's very illuminating.
So it sounds like he's trying to imply that, I guess, the media or something like that was giving, quote, misinformation about it, because from that conversation, he confirmed there was no, quote, loaded weapon found, but it was basically just reported that they had, I guess, weapons or something like that. Kind of like this post that this guy posted here saying, a police source said loaded shotguns were found. Was the Freedom Convoy really about vaccine mandates or something darker? So it would imply, like the title of this article here would say, these guys that are there, they're, I guess, I quote, extremists, I guess you could say, and it paints them in a certain light to warrant, I guess, arrests, takedowns, or whatever you want to say. And just some parts of the article here, it says, fears that there were weapons inside some of the trucks proved prescient. A police source said loaded shotguns were found. And he says here, while truckers can legally transport registered firearms in their vehicles, guns must be securely stowed and are not permitted to be loaded. which is the question I guess the guy asked, and the police confirmed there were no, I guess, loaded stuff found currently anyways in terms of people being charged and all that, at least from my understanding. It says on March 24th, Bell confirmed police received information and intelligence pertaining to firearms in the occupation, but would not confirm whether firearms had been seized, and investigations are ongoing. So I can easily see there, as a regular person, when you read that, the first thing that would come to your mind would be, oh no, like weapons and so forth, for sure, get rid of them and so forth. So is this a situation where people are playing with words, so to speak? Because like one guy here wrote, just in terms of the guy trying to, I guess, grill the police officer, it says, Conservative Dane Lloyd tried hard to discredit Justin Lang's reporting based on police sources that loaded weapons were found once police cleared the Convoy site. Bell clarifies, 0 firearms charges have been laid to date. OPS doesn't comment on ongoing investigation. And then that author makes it even more clear, saying, as I clearly noted in my story, having firearms safely stowed can be perfectly legal. Again, that seems to be the play on words, because if you listen to the actual, I guess, session there, the guy was even implying, to my understanding, where if there were, let's just say, firearms found that were loaded and all that, he was saying everyone would know right away, immediately, correct? Whereas in this case, it wasn't. So the argument there in terms of the reporter or the sources or whatever is, how did you get this information? Where they were saying there clearly, if it was found, it would have been made public right away, correct?
If there had been firearms found, would the government have been made aware of that, as far as you know? Would the cabinet have been made aware of that if there had been firearms found?
Well, our normal course of action would be that we would conduct an investigation and charges would be laid. And as a result of those charges, there would be public notifications of those charges. We wouldn't specifically notify any level of government as to the course or the conclusion of any investigation.
But they would have been immediately aware if you had found firearms, correct?
So there would have been public notifications made.
So we had a cabinet minister, the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations, Mark Miller, retweeted that article from Justin Ling from the Toronto Star, claiming that there were loaded shotguns found in trucks. This is misinformation.
Like with that laptop story too, if it ends up everything there is true and all that, which it seems like they verified it is pretty much, I'm more fascinated with the fact that there were so many people involved, I guess, in promoting a quote narrative saying it's quote misinformation. So I'd be really interested in seeing how many people were involved, because you could get away with a technicality there where a lot of people who banned it or suppressed it just said, oh, well, it's in my opinion, so to speak, it's quote, I don't know, misinformation and this and that. But you don't treat any other thing like this in terms of a news story, I would imagine. You would investigate it like crazy, correct? Saying, oh, you gave me this, let me verify it, whether or not it's true. Because that thing actually had like, what, videos and stuff like that, to my knowledge. And here, it would be the same thing. Is it just a play on words? You could say like, oh, well, I didn't actually say there 100% there were these weapons and so forth. But the way it's written and all that, I mean, it's about intent, I would say too. right, see you guys later.